let's take this thing apart. See what I do with those. They give you a kit if it's available. I am not buying this whole assembly. I'm gonna go right after that. That's usually available aftermarket. Say we're not doing any. Pull this off there. Concourse correct restoration here. We want to hear this thing run and move under its own power. This thing could be a cool little race day car if somebody wanted to put some time and energy into it. Doesn't have four-wheel disc brakes. That's its disadvantage. I'm not sure if there's a disc brake conversion for this thing, for the rear, or is it or is there a I ain't that size either. Sure, you XR4TI guys can let me know. Comment that it does. They do make an disc brake conversion, or is there like a Ford product that you can scavenge those pieces off of? I don't know. Don't know that much about these. I mean, I know enough of them that they have rear independent suspension, which in all of Ford's infinite wisdom, it took them until just recently to put it on the Mustang. But I guess the Mustang was always considered a muscle car, not a sports car. But not a huge fan of the new Mustang. Don't know why yet. I know all the spark plug issues with the 3 valves have turned a lot of people off, but who knows. Let me go back to talking about XR4TI. Anybody that knows anything about this brake for the back of this, it'd be kind of cool to know what the source is. Coming out now. Oh, they're useless. Oh, what's that on? The thing just popped on. Boy, I really hope the new one. Oh, look at the rust. Move. Thank you. How do you take it off? You break it. You motherless. You see anything down there? It's like it pops on. It's awful sloppy. Sloppy. Well, the screen is ruined, so it's not like they're going to give you just a little bit of screen you got to weave back in there. Yeah, that's what I thought. She tangs on there. It's a one-time pop on. These little tangs. If you can see them, hopefully you can see them, you little fuckers. The new one's not going to come with a sock like this. It's going to have like a sock that just hooks onto the bottom of it. Thank you. Should feel better. Yeah, it's just going to have a sock that hooks over top of the bottom. It's not going to have this fancy schmancy one. It's weird how that goes on. It's got 2 sets of those things. This little screwdriver's not liking this. This is all I really want to make sure I get right. Right there. Well, it's off to the parts store. See what we can come up with. Okay. A couple supply houses yesterday, parts houses. It was difficult finding a exact replacement because it was discontinued. But they did have a superseded part number. It's different, but looks like it can be used. It's a superseded part number, so it should be able to be used. Doesn't have the right O-rings for where the this seals to the tank, so I'm hoping I can salvage that. Even though this pump was working, I went ahead and purchased another one. So if I get it back together and it's not creating enough pressure, I'm trying to drive this thing out of the shop today. It's actually a pretty standard Ford filter. So let's go ahead and see if we can't get this thing back together. All right, we're back at the merkur. We have fuel pressure now. As you remember, when we crank it, we have lift pump pressure and we have high pressure to the manifold. We have it to here. The problem is we're not building any pressure or firing the injectors. So we got one of 2 things. We've got fuel pressure regulator, or the computer for some reason is stopping it.
How do you plan on testing that, Greg?
Well, we're going to test it by breaking out our awesome Harbor Freight Noid test kit. We're going to find a Noid light that will fit this injector harness right here, and we're going to see if this is going to be so brittle. Just looking at it, it wants to snap. To see if we have an electronic signal. If we don't have an electronic signal here, we have a computer issue in this car that is causing it not to fire the injectors. We have plenty of spark, we have the pumps running. If we block off the return line, the pumps build pressure and cut themselves off. But they won't do it otherwise. Man, that little rascal's in there. Let me go get a hook tool. Awesome. The infamous merkur XR4 Ti hot air turbo. Can't get your hand in there. At least I can't.
Let me fuck with it.
In a minute. Alright. It's not GM TBI. It's not Ford TBI. It's most likely Bosch. We all understand basically how this system works. Is this, they actually switch the ground on these back and forth, so it's hard to put a meter on it and know what you're reading, so they make these little Noid lights. Now I'm trying to crank it. So we have signal from the computer to the fuel injectors. So we are not building fuel pressure. So we are not building fuel pressure. I suspect it's the fuel pressure regulator. Because when fuel pressure comes to the fuel rail right here, you can hear it return back. They no fire, no start situation. See if the pumps will fire. I'm not hearing the pumps. Why ain't that thing working? Pumps aren't firing.
Man, this is turning to the Porsche.
Well, it's fucking German.
Redoing the splice from the inertia switch.
Yeah, bypassing the inertia switch, taking it out. Collision switch. Just getting rid of it. Somebody had run a separate fuel line, power line to the pressure pump, bypassing the. This is an awesome splice right here. This is how you do it. Let's see if we picked it up. The pump Alright, jack this thing up.
So where's the fuel pumps on this thing, Greg?
There's one right here. Behind the driver's seat. Someone else has gone into this thing. That's the high pressure pump line. It will not build pressure.
All right, so we pinched off what we believe is the fuel return. We're gonna try cranking it one more time.
See if it builds pressure. You hear it?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I saw from the video, we clamp off the return, helps build a little pressure in the system. She wants to run, but it's too much pressure, it's not regulated. Fuel pressure regulator is
right
bad.
here.
Guarantee you, and they keep it in stock at O'Reilly.
Yeah, wonder why.
Yeah, right? Okay. Man, it's not just for the merkur. They probably use that same regulator on the Rangers. They probably use it on anything that had this 2.3 with probably and without the hot air turbo. My bet is it's probably the same thing. Knowing, I mean, this is a Ferd, knowing that. So here's the question we ask ourselves. We've already priced it. It's like $50, $60. Okay. We take the time. It probably looks like it. Where one of the Allens is on the bottom where it goes, it's going to be hard to get to. So you figure an hour to change it. Okay, that's time plus the part. Are we going to be able to, when we sell this engine in trans combo, or just the engine, it being a turbo, it's got the beefed up rods, are we going to recoup that 60 by somebody hearing it run, or are we spinning our wheels? We know the engine turns, we know it builds compression, we know it wants to run, it's a fuel issue. Anybody that's buying this engine is going to be putting it in another vehicle that already runs and had a bad engine, or they're going to be doing something with this engine in another vehicle. Possibly racing it. The engine is going to need work. I wouldn't trust this timing belt as far as I could throw it. So, you know, there's going to be work, but again, it's a good viable engine. I think the mileage on this thing is 99,000 with no 6th digit, so it's probably 99,000. I doubt it's 199.
Man, that's not terrible.
No, and these 2.3s, you know, there are guys that like them, and I think I would like to get it to run, but do I want to spend the $60 not knowing if I can recoup it? you know, with the sale of the engine. I see one of these on Marketplace right now for $1,000. I think that's a little high for one of these. I wouldn't pay for it. It's already out of the car, so you have no idea, you know, ran when pulled. I mean, I don't know, what does that mean? At least this one here, we have a video. You can see it cranks, see it wants to run. I am not 100% sold that it's the fuel pressure regulator, because when I clamp off the return and artificially build pressure in this manifold, this fuel pressure manifold, it should have at least ran for a second or two. Should have done something besides shut off and not want to run. So I'm going to do a little bit more noodling and thinking about it, of what it possibly else could be. But I've got it to this point, and I'm not that keen on spending money on it. I think the parts are worth more than the vehicle if it were running and driving and whatnot. So we're going to think about it, and we'll get back to you.
Well, we forgot one of the spark plug wires wasn't hooked up from the compression test. Let's see what she does now. Hey!
Fuel pressure regulator.
Nice. Ooh, she smells fucking great. Here, good now. Oh, I unhooked it.
It's fuel pressure regulator.
Oh, looks like we rolled that out.
It kind of helps with all the spark plug wires I put back on after you do a compression test. We were actually looking, because we were going to pull one of the plugs to see what it looked like, if we were getting like gobs of fuel on it. But you hear it run. It's got an exhaust leak. I know what the exhaust leak is. It has none. So off the turbo, there's a pipe, and at the end of that pipe is Mother Nature. So that's why it sounds the way it does. There's an aux sensor on the back side of the turbo, and I can't remember on these if it had a dual aux system. I don't see a harness or anything hanging where the, what I'm believing is the catalytic converter got stolen. I don't know who would steal a catalytic converter, but I think it's been stolen. I wonder why. Josh, why do you think they stole the catalytic converter?
For fun? For their health?
Do you think they needed to go somewhere and get something? Do you think they wanted some money? What would they want the money for? I could possibly understand. All right, let's unhook the battery so it doesn't drain our test battery. It's sitting here until we get a fuel pressure